मानुषी संवाद में आप सबका स्वागत है. I welcome you to this edition of Manushi Trust. And before I start, Apurva, Kumarji, Shakti Chauhanji, thank you for your heartwarming comments. As I open, I see very warm comments from you, and it cheers me up. So now, we are going to talk about a slightly difficult and depressing topic. और उसके लिए बात करने के लिए मेरे साथ श्री तथागत बंगाल से जुड़ रहे हैं. वेलकम तथागत जी, वेलकम.
Namaskar.
A senior leader of, he's been a senior leader of BJP and also former governor Tripura and one more state,
Meghalaya.
Meghalaya. That's right. Before we start, Tatagat ji, I take your permission to give the viewers very brief summary of what's happened in Bengal, this latest outburst of violence and mayhem. So, Admin ji, can you please bring it on the screen? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Facts of the case as per the Indian Express of March 23, 2022. 8 people burned to death in retaliation to murder of TMC leader Bharu Sheikh, deputy chief of the Trinamool Congress. He controlled Barshal village, Punjab. The arson attack was in response to the murder of भादु शेख, जिसमें 8 लोगों की जल के मौत हो गई. Fatik Sheikh and Chota Lalan Sheikh are accused of killing Bhadu Sheikh. Next, please. Next slide. Next slide. A cluster of 8 houses, including that of Fatik Sheikh and those belonging to relatives of Sona Sheikh, 2 of the accused in Bhadu's murder, who are now absconding, was allegedly attacked and set on fire, leading to the death of 8 people. While the 7 charred bodies recovered from the house are yet to be identified, police said women and children are among those killed. 1 person succumbed to injuries in the hospital. Villagers and Bhadu's family accused Sona and Fatih of killing Bhadu and say they were all friends and party colleagues but fell out as Bhadu gained political and financial clout. Their bitter rivalry took a new turn on January 5 last year when Bhadu's brother Babar Sheikh was murdered. So it's been going on for a while. और भाड़ू के भाई जहांगीर कह रहे हैं my brother Sona Sheikh Fatih, no, he says my brothers Sona Sheikh, Fatik Sheikh and the other accused all worked for the Trinamool Congress. My brother used to pay them rupees 20,000 to 30,000 every month, but they were jealous that he was getting rich and powerful. He had several businesses. Even the day before yesterday, we got a call from them threatening to kill my brother. Washing his family's hands off the arson, Jahangir said, after my brother was killed, hundreds of people from 5 villages gathered here. People were angry and they gave vent to their anger. We do not know who did what in the crowd. तो ये फैमिली ने तो अपना पल्ला झाड़ लिया कि हमें पता नहीं, क्राउड आया जिन्होंने ये इन घरों को 8 घरों को जला दिया. और उनके पिता भी यही कह रहे हैं. लास्ट है स्लाइड, एडमिन, लास्ट स्लाइड. Bhadu's 85-year-old father, Marfus Hussain, said, Sona Sheikh, Chunu Sheikh, all of them were with my son, Bhadu. A year ago, they killed my elder son, Babar Sheikh. Ab suniye ye sentence. Police did not arrest anyone. After a few months, they surrendered in court and got bail. The BJP says that the arson attack in the Birbhum district of West Bengal was reminiscent of CPIM era mass killings and demanded imposition of the president's rule in the state. ये जी ब्रीफ फैक्ट्स हैं. अब इन फैक्ट्स के चलते आप देखेंगे कितना बवाल है. बीजेपी ने सेंट्रल टीम भेजी है, लोकल टीम्स भी इन्वेस्टिगेशन करने गए, और सबसे बड़ी बात है कि प्रधानमंत्री ने इस पे विशेष कर कमेंट किया, टीवी पे आके स्टेटमेंट दी. जरा वो भी छोटी सी स्टेटमेंट सुन लेते हैं. सुना दीजिए.
लोगों से भी
एडमिन, कैन यू प्लीज
आग्रह करूंगा, मैं बंगाल के लोगों से भी आग्रह करूंगा कि ऐसी वारदात को अंजाम देने वालों को, ऐसे अपराधियों का हौसला बढ़ाने वालों को कभी माफ न करें। मैं पश्चिम बंगाल के वीरभूमि में हुई हिंसक वारदात पर दुख व्यक्त करता हूं, अपनी संवेदना व्यक्त करता हूं। मैं आशा करता हूं कि राज्य सरकार बंगाल की महान धरती पर ऐसा जघन्य पाप करने वालों को जरूर सजा दिलवाएगी। मैं बंगाल के लोगों से भी आग्रह करूंगा कि ऐसी वारदात को अंजाम देने वालों को, ऐसे अपराधियों का हौसला बढ़ाने वालों को कभी माफ न करें। केंद्र सरकार की तरफ से मैं राज्य को इस बात के लिए भी आश्वस्त करता हूं कि अपराधियों को जल्द से जल्द सजा दिलवाने में जो भी मदद वो चाहेगी, भारत सरकार मुहैया कराई जाएगी।
Okay. Now, Tathagata Roy ji, the question arises. In fact, I was quite surprised that a team went from Delhi to investigate. There are local teams going there of भाजपा, और बहुत जल्दी प्रधानमंत्री जी ने भी स्ट्रॉन्ग स्टेटमेंट दे दिया। परंतु जब इलेक्शन के बाद हिंदुओं पर हिंसा हुई थी, उनको घर घर से खदेड़ कर मारा गया था, जिनका कोई दोष नहीं था एक्सेप्ट दिस दैट दे वर बीजेपी सपोर्टर्स एंड वोटर्स। उन्होंने किसी का नुकसान नहीं किया था, किसी को मारा नहीं था, किसी को पीटा नहीं था। और
ये आप किन लोगों की बात कर रहे हैं?
आज जो मरे हैं, अभी जो मरे हैं, ये आठों
हाँ।
के आठों मुस्लिम मरे हैं। और प्रधानमंत्री
हाँ,
जी,
पर ये बीजेपी सपोर्टर नहीं थे, ये सारे तृणमूल के थे।
वही तो मुझे मालूम है, मैं कह रही हूँ तब की बात,
वो
इलेक्शन
पुरानी बात। अच्छा, ठीक है।
के वक्त जिनको मारा गया वो भाजपा सपोर्टर्स थे, हिंदू थे। तब कोई स्टेटमेंट नहीं आई प्रधानमंत्री जी से। और अभी जब 8 लोग गैंग राइवलरी में मारे जाते हैं, मारने वाले भी मुसलमान और मरने वाले भी मुसलमान, तो प्रधानमंत्री जी आके इतना अच्छा बयान दे देते हैं और यहाँ से टीम भी भेजी जाती है इन्वेस्टिगेट करने। ये मुझे समझ नहीं आई कि इतनी डिफरेंट वैल्यू क्यों है हिंदू लाइफ्स पे और मुस्लिम लाइफ्स पे। सबसे पहले तो ये प्लीज हमें स्पष्टीकरण कीजिए।
देखिए, इस बारे में पता मुझे भी नहीं है क्यों लोग दो तरह के लाइव्स में डिफरेंस करते हैं, ये फर्क करते हैं, ये मुझे भी पता नहीं है। मैं तो अपने तरफ से कह सकता हूं कि जब तक मैं पार्टी का दायित्व में था, मैं कभी ऐसा कोई फर्क नहीं किया। पर मुझे एक आई हैव अ फीलिंग, मुझे एक महसूस है कि the parties which call themselves secular are the worst communal parties. The parties who go on absolutely banding themselves, wearing their secularism on their sleeves, they are the worst parties who believe in communalism, who do communalism, and who all the time try to divide society by religion. That is true of the Trinamool Congress here also. Trinamool Congress constantly goes on saying कि ये लोग ये जो जन समुदाय है उनको धर्म के आधार पर विभाजित करते हैं, धर्म के आधार पर विभाजित करते हैं। पर वो ममता बनर्जी एक बार ऐसे जस्ट बाय स्लिप ऑफ टंग उसने कह दी थी कि ये जो मुस्लिम लोग हैं ये मेरा दूधेल गाय है। दूधेल गाय बांग्ला में ये इसको मतलब होता है मिल्च काउ। ये हमारे मिल्च काउ है। ममता बनर्जी का पूरा मकसद है किस हालत से मुस्लिम वोट कब्जा किया जाए। Mamta Banerjee's mathematics, electoral mathematics is like this. She thinks that there is about 30%, little more than 30% Muslim vote in West Bengal. She must get this whole chunk. Once she gets this whole chunk, the rest of the, because Hindus, vote differently. They each one of them vote in their own way. So long as she can manage this whole chunk of Muslim votes, 30%, and somehow cobble together another 10-15% of Hindu votes, so she's home. She has won, जीत गई। और इसी गणित के आधार पर वो राजनीति करते हैं।
वो तो
उनके
बात
जो
जी,
हाँ
प्लीज
जी
कंटिन्यू, प्लीज
ना,
कंटिन्यू।
उनके जो राजनीति है इसमें कोई जन कल्याण की कोई प्रश्न नहीं है। She never tries to do anything that has got to do with the welfare of the people. She has only two objectives. उनके सिर्फ दो मकसद है। एक है कि अगला चुनाव मुझे जीतना पड़ेगा, वो जो भी चुनाव हो, लोकसभा हो, विधानसभा हो, पंचायत हो, म्यूनिसिपैलिटी हो या स्कूल का चुनाव हो, सभी पॉलिटिकल होता है। पश्चिम बंगाल में सभी पॉलिटिकल है। ये तो पहली मकसद है। दूसरा मकसद ये है कि पार्टी पर मेरा पकड़ 100%, 1000% होना चाहिए। पार्टी पर पकड़ बिल्कुल पूरा पक्का होना चाहिए। इसलिए वो करती क्या है, वो ऐसे तो उनका तो कोई फेवरेट्स है, जैसे अभिषेक बनर्जी था, और कुछ दिन पहले तक महुआ मोइत्रो था। वो फ्रॉम टाइम टू टाइम शी क्लिप्स देयर विंग्स। उनको एकदम सब लोगों के समक्ष उनको अपमान करते हैं, और अपमान करके उनको ये वार्ता दे देता है कि तुम कोई नहीं हो, तुम कुछ नहीं हो। इस पार्टी में एक अकेला इकलौता नेता नेत्री कुछ भी हो वो ममता बनर्जी है। यही दो मकसद के आधार पर वो पार्टी करते हैं।
इसमें दो राय नहीं कि ये जो पार्टी है एक ही धुरी है उसकी, और उनके फिर परिवार के लोग जुड़ गए उनके आसपास। दे आर द क्लोजेस्ट एंड दे आर द ओनली ट्रस्टवर्दी परमानेंट फिक्सचर्स। पर मैं दो बातें आपसे पूछना चाह रही हूँ। एक तो क्या ये पहली बार है कि दो राइवल फैक्शंस के बीच में, मुस्लिम फैक्शंस, टीएमसी सपोर्टर्स, बोथ मुस्लिम, क्या पहली बार इस तरह की किलिंग हुई है कि आए दिन मुस्लिम भी भिड़ंत होती रहती है?
देखिए, ऐसी बात नहीं है। इसमें हिंदू मुस्लिम बहुत बड़ी बात नहीं है। इसमें सिर्फ एक ही बात है कि रुपया बनाना है। बांग्ला में एक शब्द है तोलाबाज। ये तोलाबाज मतलब अंग्रेजी में एक्सटॉर्शनिस्ट। ये तोलाबाजी जो है तृणमूल कांग्रेस का, दिस इज द वॉचवर्ड ऑफ तृणमूल कांग्रेस, तोलाबाजी। वो करते क्या हैं, उनके जो नेता लोग हैं, नेता लोग वो चाहे हिंदू हो चाहे मुस्लिम हो, वो उन इलाके के जितने सारे लोग हैं उनसे रुपया ऐसे वसूल करते हैं। दे एक्सट्रैक्ट मनी। देयर आर पीपल इन कोलकाता, इन द सिटी ऑफ कोलकाता, who will extort money from any real estate dealer, any contractor, any builder on the basis of square feet. इतने स्क्वायर फीट है, तुम्हें इतना रुपया देना पड़ेगा। एंड इफ दे कंप्लेन टू द पुलिस विल सिंपली लाफ देम अवे। ये कोई बात है? आप मेरे पास आया इसके खिलाफ शिकायत करने के लिए? अब भागिए, जाइए, रुपया दे दीजिए उनको। This is the way it functions. So if there is a religious angle to it, one faction is Hindu, one faction is Muslim, then a different dimension enters into it. But normally it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is money. The party functions in a very interesting way. there is only one leader in that party. You know, हर एक पार्टी में एक हायरार्की होता है. ये एकदम टॉप में कुछ कोई लोग होते हैं, बिलो देम देयर इज ए पार्टी स्ट्रक्चर. ये पार्टी स्ट्रक्चर जो है, ये सीपीएम या बीजेपी जैसे पार्टी में ये एक रेजिमेंटल स्ट्रक्चर है. कांग्रेस जैसे पार्टी में ये एक लूज स्ट्रक्चर है, फिर भी एक बल्कि एक पार्टी स्ट्रक्चर है. तृणमूल में ऐसे स्ट्रक्चर उक्चर कुछ नहीं है. देयर इज ओनली वन लीडर. Actually, a leftist leader said some time back, he's dead now, he had said some time back that his party में एक पोस्ट और बाकी सब लैम्प पोस्ट. बाकी उनका कोई ये नहीं है, उनका कोई एक पैसे का औकात नहीं है. वो पोस्ट से जो हुक्म होता है उनको तामील करना होता है. और from time to time she raises this person, drops that person, insults the other person. In this manner, she maintains her absolute hegemony over the party. Now, what do the lower level people have to do? They have to do two things. Number one is that they have to constantly go on professing their undying loyalty to Mamta Banerjee. हम ममता बनर्जी के सिवाय और किसी को लीडर नहीं मानते हैं, ये हमेशा दोहराते जाना है. नंबर वन. नंबर टू इज रुपया वसूल करना है लोगों से और रुपया ऊपर भेजना. ये नंबर टू, एंड दिस इज द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट रिक्वायरमेंट इन दैट पार्टी.
फेयर इनफ. इन अ वे महाराष्ट्र में भी यही शिवसेना का रिकॉर्ड है. हर बिल्डर से, हर रेडी वाले से, दिल्ली में भी देखो, सिर्फ बिल्डर से नहीं लेंगे, रेडी पटड़ी दुकानदार से, रिक्शा वाले से, ऑटो वाले, हर एक से extortion, वसूली, हफ्ता. This has become all India pattern, except that बंगाल में बहुत ज्यादा vicious फॉर्म ले लिया, murderous फॉर्म ले लिया. मैं ये सिर्फ जानना चाह रही थी कि ये जो अक्सर हमने देखा है कि इसका जो murderous फॉर्म है वो हिंदू मुस्लिम रूप लेता है. At least I haven't come across many instances of Muslims getting into such a situation where they set fire to each other's homes. Is this unusual or is this common? That's what I want to know.
It all depends on where it is taking place. The place where it took the location where it took place is a Muslim belt. It is not very far away from the Bangladesh border. And the leader of that district is one Anubrata Mandal. I don't know if you have ever seen him. He's an enormously fat man. And he is a great favorite of Mamta Banerjee. Mamta Banerjee always supports him. And when he is in a jam, वो ममता बनर्जी कहती है कि उनके ब्रेन में ऑक्सीजन नहीं जाता. तो इसलिए वो कभी कभी ठीक जो ये है सिद्धांत है, the correct decision he cannot take because his brain doesn't get oxygen. But she always stands by him because of the money channel. This man runs a reign of terror right through the Birbhum district, which is where the Shantiniketan is located, which was consecrated by Gurudev Tagore. It is a matter of shame. ये लज्जा की बात है कि ऐसे जिस भूमि पर गुरुदेव टैगोर ने ये शांति निकेतन बनाए थे, उनके पिता बनाए थे, वो भूमि आज अनुव्रत मंडल के भूमि हो गया और वहां ऐसे वसूली, दिस काइंड ऑफ एक्सटॉर्शन गोज ऑन. This is more or less the picture. Now, not every part of West Bengal is inhabited by Muslims. Say, for instance, here there are Muslim pockets. There is one district. There are 3 districts in West Bengal. Birbhum is not one of them. They are Murshidabad, North Dinajpur, and Malda, which are Muslim majority. Murshidabad is very substantially Muslim majority, and the other 2 are have marginal Muslim majorities. इन पार्टियों में, इन इसमें है, इस जिलों में मुस्लिम राइवलरी है, फैक्शनिज्म भी है, लेकिन वो अभी तक वहां तक गया नहीं. It has not gone so far.
So in a way, you're saying that this is one of those few occasions where Muslim rivalry has taken a murderous form. Normally, इस फॉर्म में नहीं एक्सप्रेस होता मुसलमानों के बीच में. अब सवाल ये उठता है कि ये गैंग वॉर है एक मायने में. यू वुड एग्री बिटवीन टू
गैंग वॉर.
rival gangs. How come the Prime Minister feels so concerned about justice in this case, जबकि कुछ नहीं बोले हमारी सेंट्रल लीडरशिप, जब चुनाव के बाद हिंदुओं को खदेड़ खदेड़ के उनके घरों से निकाल के मारा गया, स्त्रियों पर बलात्कार हुआ और बहुत ही अत्याचार हुए, घर बहुत जलाए गए, क्या क्या नहीं हुआ. तो इसमें क्या खास बात है जो प्रधानमंत्री को यहाँ पे इंटरवीन करने की जरूरत पड़ी, जो गैंग वॉर है बिटवीन टू फैमिलीज, टू गुंडास. What was so special
देखिए, ये
about it?
मुझे पता नहीं है. मैं तो कलकत्ता रहता हूँ, आप दिल्ली रहते हैं, आपको पता होगा कि दिल्ली में क्या होता है.
But would you agree this is very unusual?
जी,
Total silence. Would you agree that this is a cause for worry? एक तो total silence when BJP's own cadre, party members, party workers, उनका कत्ल होता है, उनको उनके घर जलाए जाते हैं, तो शांति है दिल्ली में, चुप. और अभी दो गुंडों के बीच में लड़ाई होती है जिसमें 8 लोग मारे जाते हैं, तो प्रधानमंत्री का दिल बहुत दुखी हो जाता है. Is it strange or not? I mean, are you feeling as puzzled by this as I am?
I really don't know. Pradhan Mantri ji has many other considerations. He has certain all India considerations. I understand all my life I have done only state politics. मैं स्टेट में ही रहा, स्टेट का स्थिति में जानता हूँ. ऑल इंडिया पॉलिटिक्स के लिए एक पर्सपेक्टिव होता है जिसके बारे में मुझे कोई बहुत धारणा नहीं है.
Okay, चलिए, we close it, but I certainly want to communicate to our viewers who I think share my concern कि ये तो हद ही हो गई. इस बार भी मोदी जी चुप रहते तो शायद हम इग्नोर कर देते, पर इस बार आउट ऑफ द वे जाके बोलना, स्टेटमेंट देना, जबकि चुप्पी हो जाती है. पालघर साधुओं की लिंचिंग पे चुप्पी है, और इतना बड़े स्केल पे हिंसा हुई बीजेपी के खुद के वर्कर्स, तब चुप्पी है. तो हमें बहुत दुख है और वो हम दुख व्यक्त करना चाहते हैं और प्रधानमंत्री जी को अपना ये एंग्विश पहुंचाना चाहते हैं कि दिस इज नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल. कम से कम सबका साथ स्लोगन की इज्जत रखिए. हम भी उस सब में आते हैं कि नहीं आते, तो स्पष्ट कर दीजिए. अगर यह है कि सबका साथ में हिंदुओं की कोई जगह नहीं है, केवल लाभार्थी हिंदुओं की जगह है, और लाभार्थियों के रूप में हिंदू आए तब आपके लिए जगह है कि उनको हम सिलेंडर पहुंचा देंगे, उनको सोफा संडास दे देंगे. क्या सिटीजनशिप राइट्स की कोई कदर नहीं, कोई कीमत नहीं आपकी निगाह में प्रधानमंत्री जी? ये मेरा सवाल है, ये तथागत रॉय जी का सवाल नहीं है, मेरा सवाल है. अब आपसे दूसरा मैं पूछना चाहती हूँ, ये भद्र लोग का समाज माना जाता था, which means very sophisticated people. Bengalis were the ones who led the revolutionary movement. आप देखिए 905 में किस तरह का आंदोलन किया कि अंग्रेजों को कैंसिल करना पड़ा पार्टीशन ऑफ बंगाल. और वो जो 1905 की स्वदेशी मूवमेंट थी और बंगाल पार्टीशन के खिलाफ की, उसमें कितनी भूमिका, मिलिटेंट भूमिका, एक अपना आइडेंटिटी बनाए रखने के लिए, यूनिफाइड आइडेंटिटी बंगाल की बनाए रखने के लिए की. ये बंगाली जिन्होंने श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी जैसे नेता दिए देश को, आज क्या हो गया बंगाली भद्र लोग को? इतनी कोर्स, इतनी वायलेंट पॉलिटिक्स को वो सपोर्ट करे जा रहे हैं. ये क्या हो क्या रहा है तथागत जी?
इस बारे में मैं थोड़ा अध्ययन किया और मैं थोड़ा अथॉरिटी के साथ मैं बता सकता हूँ.
जी.
देखिए, सन 1905 के जो घटना के आप जिक्र किए हैं, that first partition of Bengal, that first partition of Bengal was opposed by Bengali Hindus principally,
Yes.
because the intention, the goal behind the first partition of Bengal was to create a Muslim majority province of Eastern Bengal and Assam.
Yes.
But a lot of Muslims also opposed it. In fact, it was the principal mover in favor of this thing was one Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka. But Salimullah's own brother Akatullah, he had opposed it. But uh, eventually it was annulled. In 2011 it was annulled, and at the same time the capital of India was shifted from Kolkata to New Delhi.
Yes.
उसके बाद actually the Bengali Hindu Bhadralok class, they were involved in Congress politics, and the leadership was given by C.R. Das, Chittaranjan Das.
Hmm.
He was a great leader. He realized that while the leadership was in the hands of Bengali Hindus, the numerical majority were the Muslims. Even at that time, the Muslims were slightly numerically in a bigger number than Hindus. तो चित्रंजन दास ने ये किए थे कि एक बंगाल पैक्ट नाम के एक फैसला किए थे, जिसके आधार पर ये कोई शेयरिंग ऑफ पावर की कुछ तय हुई थी. But Chittaranjan Das died all of a sudden in 1924 in a sudden attack. As a result of that, Bengal was left without any leader. Subhash Chandra Bose was still very young, and there were other leaders, but not of the caliber of Chittaranjan Das. Meanwhile, Gandhiji had come into the field, and he was crafting his own style of politics, his methods, ये सारे जो है वो बना रहे थे. 1921 में मलाबार में, केरला का नॉर्थ केरला में एक भयंकर दंगा फसाद हुई थी, जिसको मोपला रेवेलियन कहा जाता है. इस मोपला रेवेलियन में 10,000 हिंदुओं को कत्ल किया गया. एंड गांधी जी सेड, फॉलोइंग दैट रेवेलियन, Gandhi ji said that इसमें ये मुसलमानों का कोई दोष नहीं है. The Muslims killed the Hindus. All the victims were Hindus. All the perpetrators were Muslims. But Gandhi ji said इसमें उनका कोई दोष नहीं है. He said that they are the bravest of the country, among the bravest in the country. He said that they are very God-fearing people. This thing was criticized even by the Congress president Annie Besant and Ambedkar, but Gandhi was unfazed. And at that time, उस समय गांधी जी का पकड़ इतना था कांग्रेस पर कि he had made this a standard idiom of the Congress. What was the idiom? It could be encapsulated in one sentence: a Muslim can do no wrong. Actually, simultaneously, the British were also trying to foment trouble between Hindus and Muslims. And this trouble was growing. There were riots from time to time. There was this Kohat riots, which is in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province of Pakistan now, a place called Kohat, where a lot of Hindus were killed. But in spite of that, Gandhiji refused to utter one single word of criticism against Muslims. And this became the sort of creed of Congress. This continued. And in Bengal, also, Hindus were all supporters of the Congress. The Muslims supported, some of them supported Congress. Some of them supported a party called Krishak Praja Party, which was headed by Fazlul Haq. But the Hindus were all supporting Congress. They also, हिंदू लोगों ने भी इसको अपना लिया, और हिंदुओं का भी ये विश्वास में घुस गया कि मुस्लिम कैन डू नो रॉन्ग. अच्छा, इसके ये 1930s में अलग एक घटना हुआ. वो घटना ये है कि ये वामपंथी लोग, मार्क्सिस्ट पर्टिकुलरली, they came into the scene. And at that time, the Congress was politically very busy, but the cultural and the literary space was left open by them
Hmm.
and taken by them. और ये जो कल्चरल लिटरेरी स्पेस है इसमें वामपंथी लोग घुस गए और वामपंथी लोग घुसकर उनका अपना जो नैरेटिव है वो बनाने लगे. इस नैरेटिव के आधार पर हिंदू मुस्लिम कोई कुछ नहीं, ऐसी चीज नहीं है. There are only the exploiters and the exploited. They were using this exploited nonsense to wash away the sins of the uh, Muslims, whatever the Muslims were doing. So the two poles met. On the one hand, Gandhi was preaching that Muslim can do no wrong, and the uh, communists were preaching that there is no such thing as Hindu-Muslim, there is only exploiter and exploited. This went on. Finally, we come to 1946 when there was that horrible riot in Noakhali. It wasn't a riot, it was a one-sided pogrom. Before that, in the same year, there was the Great Calcutta killings in Calcutta. Great Calcutta killings was a two-sided thing. Noakhali pogrom was a one-sided thing in which the Muslims were perpetrators, Hindus were victims. But Gandhiji refused to invite Muslims in any way. So this particular paradigm, this entered the Bengali mind, and because the cultural and literary space was occupied by the leftists, this became almost a sort of an article of faith. In 1950, there was a terrible pogrom after independence. In 1950, there was a terrible pogrom in erstwhile East Pakistan in which it is estimated that 50,000 Hindus were killed. Can you imagine that there is no documentation about it? There is only one book written on this subject. And that book has been written by yours truly. You probably have heard of the book.
I am aware of it. Last time when I interviewed you, we talked about it. We even showed its cover.
Yes.
Yes, you are the only one who wrote about it. 50,000 slaughter. That's genocide.
Yes.
But, you continue. Please continue. Please continue.
What I was trying to say is that this kind of thing in the Bengali mind, that a Muslim can do no wrong. The wrong of Muslims should not be mentioned. This had made very deep inroads. Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee was one departure. He was one person who was prepared to swim against the current. And he said that this is not correct. If a Hindu does something wrong, it is as wrong as if a Muslim does something wrong. The two must be looked at in the same way. And also he had crafted the state of West Bengal by partitioning Bengal as a corollary to the partition of India. So ultimately, I think this is the greatest achievement of Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. But Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, I believe, was killed by a conspiracy of Jawaharlal Nehru and Sheikh Abdullah. After that, there was no leader in West Bengal. There was no leader left in West Bengal. Dr. B.C. Roy was there, but he was already very old and he was beset with so many administrative problems that he could not give any political leadership. And then the communists, they rose, they captured the whole political field, and then after that it was curtains. Since the early 1960s, West Bengal and Bengalis have been a constant downward slide with the result that एक जमाने में जिस राज्य में उद्योग के हिसाब से सबसे अग्रसर था जिस राज्य, वो राज्य अभी एक बैकवर्ड स्टेट हो गया, एग्रीकल्चरल स्टेट हो गया, जिसमें कोई आकर के इन्वेस्ट नहीं करना चाहते हैं. और बंगाल में ऐसा लोगों का कोई लीडरशिप देने वाले कोई नहीं है. उसके चलते ऐसे we got leaders like Jyoti Basu, and now we have got a leader like Mamta Banerjee. who is continuing this downward slide of ours. This is
Now,
more or less the tragic story.
absolutely, I agree with you. And that book, I strongly recommend. Is it still available? I strongly recommend that our viewers read that book. It is indeed a very important historic
Just
contribution.
give me a second. I'll show that book.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
এই যে বইটা আমি দেখা এটার পাশেরটা ওটার পাশেরটা হ্যাঁ এটা পড়া দাও জলদি This is the book that I was talking about.
Yeah.
My people uprooted the exodus of Hindus from East Pakistan and Bangladesh. This
Yes.
is a very tragic story. You know, if you compare the Bengal exodus and the Punjab exodus, very interesting things come to the fore. The Punjab exodus was a two-way street. The all Hindus and Sikhs from West Punjab came to East Punjab, and all Muslims went away from East Punjab to West Punjab, with the result that the refugees who came from East to West Punjab, they could occupy the properties which were left by the Muslims in East Punjab. Not only that, the government at that time took some extra care, extra steps to rehabilitate these refugees. The result of which was the creation of colonies like Lajpat Nagar, Kalkaji, Rajendra Nagar. These colonies in Delhi were created. In places like Pilibhit, the Sikh agriculturists, they were all settled. None of these things were done for the East Bengal refugees who came in 1950, after 1950, and they were treated in a most horrible manner without any kind of scheme for rehabilitation. Nehru had signed some stupid accord with Liaquat Ali Khan, in which he said that on the basis of which he said that these people who have been whose women folk have been raped, they have been murdered, their houses have been torched, they will go back to East Pakistan. Why? Because Liaquat Ali Khan is saying so. Actually, they did not know, no sane person will. And they were some of the one of the worst human tragedies is this thing. And in the process, East Bengal refugees got a reputation as feckless. People said, oh, Punjab refugees are so hardworking, they've made a future for themselves. Why can't the Bengalis do it? Punjab refugees, of course, were hardworking, but they were given all the facilities, all the incentives also. East Bengal refugees were given up as lost by Nehru. They were rehabilitated in horrible places like Dandakarana. Then we come to another story. When these refugees, where the communists came to power in 1977, these refugees thought that they would get rehabilitation in West Bengal, so came over to West Bengal. Jyoti Basu told them to go back. Then these people were not prepared to go back. They had burned their boats. So इन लोगों ने क्या किया सुंदरबन में जो हाँ वो जंगल है वो जंगल एरिया में एक द्वीप है उसका मरीन झापी नाम है वो मरीन झापी नाम के वो द्वीप में जाकर के उन लोगों ने अपने ये से ताकत से सेटल किया और उसको खेतीबाड़ी करने का प्रयास किया Jyoti Basu sent the police and his thugs to oust them from there, with the result that these people, even little children, were denied drinking water because that water in the liver is brackish. They were denied drinking water. What the communists had done to the refugees defies description. Absolutely defies description. It's a different story altogether. I have plans to write a book about it. Already one book is there, but
I would like to have a special talk by you on your book on East Bengal, where you also bring in. We'll have it soon enough because these details really need to be told. Now we'll do it very soon, Tathagata Royji. But two things. Apart from the difference between Punjabi refugees and Bengali refugees in terms of state policy, but Punjabi refugees, फिर भी, they carry memories of that partition. They didn't erase it completely. out of their minds. This generation, let's say generation of my nieces and nephews, are completely blank about it, because parents have not tuned their children to be connected to that past, और स्कूल में हिस्ट्री या कॉलेज में किताबों में कुछ भी मेंशन भी नहीं होता पार्टीशन का, पर फिर भी एक अवेयरनेस है कि हम वहां से आए थे. बंगालियों में, भद्रलोक में ये अवेयरनेस कैसे गायब हो गई कि वो बहुत बदहाली में आए थे और लुट-पुट के आए थे और यहाँ भी कुछ नहीं मिला. ये अवेयरनेस कैसे इरेज कर दी गई? ये कम्युनिज्म का कमाल है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, यू हिट द नेल ऑन द हेड. देखिए, ऐसे इतने सारे बंगाली विस्थापित हुए, बंगाली हिंदू विस्थापित हुए ईस्ट पाकिस्तान से. हाउ इज इट दैट पुअर तथागतरा इज द ओनली पर्सन हु हैज रिटन अ बुक ऑन देम? How many books are there about the Punjab Exodus? There are books of fiction, non-fiction. There are books by eminent writers like G.S. Khosla, then Penderal Moon, then Khushwant Singh, then Bhisham Shani, then Sada Sasan
Amrita
Manto on the
Pritam,
other side.
Amrita Pritam, Amrita Pritam wrote
Amrita
several.
Pritam, all these people have written. Who has written anything about Bengali refugees? Oh yes, there are a number of stories about the travails, the difficult times that Bengali refugees had after coming over to India. But what happened to them on the East Pakistan side, on the other side of the border? Why did they leave their abode of 14 generations? There isn't a single mention anywhere. And the surprising thing is that there are quite a number of very prominent people who share that fate. Say, for instance, there is an Oxford Don. He has died recently. There was an Oxford Don, a famous historian by the name of Tapan Rai Chaudhuri.
Yes, yes, a
He
good
doesn't
friend.
breathe before, I mean, he doesn't let out a breath before criticizing the RSS. There was a very
Jyoti
prominent
Basu
Bengali.
himself.
Hanji?
Jyoti Basu
Jyoti
himself.
Basu himself, but Jyoti Basu's family was settled in West Bengal. But even so, Jyoti Basu had a house in Calcutta. But even so, Jyoti Basu's boss, Pramod Das Gupta, he was a refugee. Then there was a very prominent literature in West Bengal was one Sunil Gangopadhyay. He was a refugee. Ashok Mitra, he was the finance minister of West Bengal. He was a refugee. None of these people have written one little word about what happened to them in East Pakistan. They were all mature. I mean, at least they were 15, 20 years old by that time.
What about
They
Amartya
didn't-
Sen?
Haji?
What about Amartya Sen?
Amartya Sen, just another case. Amartya Sen also has not written anything. Amartya Sen had a presence on this side. So he probably did not suffer to that extent. His family
But he
was
saw it. They
Yes.
would have seen what happened.
They would
Amartya
have certainly seen, but it is this, you see, this Marxist, this leftist orientation, this has completely unhinged them. And this has taught them that, like George Orwell said in in his novel 1984, truth is falsehood, war is peace, that kind of thing. That kind of thing has pervaded the mindsets of these people. इन लोगों ने इस मनस्थिति से छाए हुए हैं और इन लोग इसके बारे में एकदम मुसलमान जो अन्याय किए हैं उसके बारे में एक शब्द बोलने के लिए भी तैयार नहीं है. पर मैं हमेशा पूछता हूं क्यों हिंदू कभी अन्याय किए हैं तो उसके खिलाफ जरूर कहिए, मुसलमान कभी अन्याय किए हैं तो उसके खिलाफ भी जरूर कहिए, क्यों नहीं कहते हैं? But I got a very pertinent answer from Tapan Rai Chaudhuri. He had, for God knows what reason, he had invited me for a breakfast. So I went and told him that, look here, sir. I addressed him as sir. And I said, look here, sir, you have all your life abused the RSS and I am a Swansevak myself. But tell me, between you and me, how is it that this entire history has been forgotten? You are a historian yourself. How is it that the entire history has been forgotten? He thought for a second, and he sort of not exactly swore me to secrecy, but he let it be known that I should not speak about it. So he said, who wants to remember that his mother was raped right in front of his eyes and he could do nothing about it? He
Hmm.
said it. Now I can say it because he's gone now. He said it, and it had
Let me
happened.
let me remind you, let me share a conversation I had with Tapan Chaudhary when he
With
was with the same gentleman, Professor Tapan Roy Chaudhary.
uh,
Okay, when he was, as you yourself mentioned, Oxford Don. So he had invited me to lecture there and be at Oxford at his invitation for a month. That's long ago. But, one of our conversations I remember was on precisely this issue. As you well know, उनका contribution था subaltern studies and so-called bringing out subaltern voice, है ना? और subaltern का मतलब जो बिल्कुल नीचे के जिनकी आवाज नहीं सुनी जाती. तो मैंने उनको तपन राय चौधरी से बोला कि आप देखिए with this continued in history of invasions and suppression, मुझे तो लगता है कि अगर कोई आज सबाल्टर्न है हिंदुस्तान में जिसकी आवाज सुनी जाती नहीं, वो तो है हिंदू. पार्टीशन के रेफ्यूजी हैं तब भी उनको बोलने का हक नहीं है कि हमारे साथ ज्यादती हुई. अगर उनके साथ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में किया जाता है, उनको बोलने का हक नहीं है कि उनके साथ ज्यादती हुई. और इतने ज्यादा डिस्क्रिमिनेटरी पॉलिसीज बनाई हैं स्टेट ने विद अगेंस्ट हिंदूज, और इतने स्पेशल राइट्स दे दिए, और कितना सेंसरशिप हो रहा है, कितना सेंसरशिप हो रहा है. तो आपने तो खुद ही हिंदुओं को सबाल्टर्न बना दिया. I mean, he did engage for a bit, but I think he wanted to escape. He didn't want to face that question. He didn't want to get into the nitty gritty of their own contributions, especially the subaltern school of thought. तो आप बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं कि वहीं से आए हैं, उजड़ के आए हैं, और हम सबको एमनीजिया सिखाया गया. Forget it. I also come from a partition refugee family, and we were
so
also
do I.
told that, हाँ, तो यही बोला जाता था कि अगर बोलोगे तो तनाव बढ़ेगा, मुसलमानों को बुरा लगेगा. अच्छा, हमको बुरा नहीं लगना चाहिए कि हम स्लॉटर होते जा रहे
Exactly,
हैं.
exactly.
उनको बुरा लगेगा अगर हम कहेंगे भाई अब स्लॉटर अब तो बंद कर दो. You can't even say at least stop now. You can't even say that without sounding communal. Now, another thing I wanted to ask you was this. I remember in my student days when I went to Bengal, one of the first notable things at that time, what I noticed when I was very young, कि अगर बस में या कहीं बाजार में कोई पब्लिक प्लेस में किसी लड़की या महिला को छेड़ दिया तो बंगाली पीट डालते थे उसको. किसी की हिम्मत नहीं होती थी जो छेड़खानी जैसे दिल्ली में बड़ी उन दिनों कॉमन थी, तो सब लोग बंगाल का उदाहरण देते थे. अभी वो ही बंगाली भद्र लोग हिंदू महिलाओं को घर से खदेड़ कर रेप किया, बहुत अन्याय किए, और कोई बोलता नहीं, उसको रिपोर्ट करने को भी तैयार नहीं. और आज भी इंडियन एक्सप्रेस ने जो अच्छी खबर दी कल ये वायलेंस के बारे में, इसलिए बिकॉज ऑल द 8 आर मुस्लिम्स. आई डोंट रिमेम्बर any newspaper giving front page coverage when Hindus were being dragged. Is the media in Kolkata also behaving in the same manner, shutting their eyes, and people don't care if Hindu women are dragged and raped and brutalized?
So less said about the Kolkata media, the better. Right now, the Kolkata media, I have lived in this city for 77 years. I have never seen the Kolkata media turn into such toadies, such subservient, subhumans. as they are doing now to the government in place in the state. I've never seen this kind of thing before among the Kolkata media. The other thing that I would like to place before you is that this uh, आप जो कह रहे थे कि उस कहने में उसको बुरा लगेगा, क्या बुरा लगेगा? देखिए, ये जो जूस लोग जो उनके ऊपर जो भयंकर अत्याचार हुई जर्मन ने किए हैं, वो लोग तो कहते हैं इसके लिए क्या इजराइल और जर्मनी के बीच झगड़ा हो रहा है, मारामारी हो रहा है? ये अंग्रेज लोग आयरिश पर बहुत अत्याचार किया. आर द ब्रिटिश एंड द आयरिश फाइटिंग? बट ये उनका बुरा लगेगा, उनका क्या लगेगा? ये this is a totally false narrative which was crafted by Gandhiji and which was carried forward by Nehru and the leftists, and we have become prisoners of this, and then we are still carrying with this with the double standards. Very few people have had the courage to speak against it. I can talk of two people, foreigners, who have spoken against this. One is François Gauthier. You probably know of him, and the other is Konrad Elst. They have spoken about it and they have expressed their surprise. Why do we have such double standards? But we have not been able to shake the general intelligentsia of the country until very recently. Recently, over the last how long? Over the last possibly 10 years, 15 years, a change is
social media, the oncome of the social media.
Social media. There are two other things. See, in 2002, what had happened in Gujarat, it proved that Hindus were not for killing. You couldn't get away with killing Hindus. The burning alive of Hindu pilgrims in Godhra, it caused a riot. It was very unfortunate. The Gujarat government put that riot with as much expedition as possible. But at the same time, the perpetrators of that riot were made to understand that you can't kill Hindus and get away with it. There are going to be repercussions. That was one thing. And subsequently, now that we see films like Kashmir Files being made, this is a quantum change in our thinking. I welcome it. I hope we go this way. Now, Kishwarji, I think we will have to knock it off now.
Okay. Last question, can I ask?
Sure,
Last
go ahead.
question. Okay. In my experience, there are only two states in India where beefing it is a fashion statement, has been for long. I remember as a 17-year-old when I first went to Kolkata, जादवपुर यूनिवर्सिटी में कोई डिबेट के लिए, तो मेरे जो जादवपुर यूनिवर्सिटी में जो मेरे होस्ट थे, one of the first thing they said, we want to take you to have a treat जो बंगाल की सबसे ज्यादा फेमस delicacy है, वो क्या? beef roll. Now I said, that's not what my mother would feel happy about, beef khana. But it was like, a status symbol. So also I find in Kerala. These are the only two states. Elsewhere, people are more discreet, even if they are consuming. They don't bring it.
Leftist Marxism.
Marxism has done it.
It destroys your value system. You see, I'll just take 2 seconds. Swami Vivekananda had said back in the late 19th century that the entire thinking of Indians, their politics, their behavior, their social life, everything is based on dharma. He used the word dharma. And if you can't take dharma out of the hearts of Indians, dharma is the basic vehicle through which they understand everything. Now, Jawaharlal Nehru tried, and Gandhiji also in a different way, they tried to take dharma out of our hearts. As a result of which, we lost our value system, we couldn't replace it. We got a corrupted value system full of these double standards. And that is the result of this. What you have seen in West Bengal and Kerala It's a result of that.
Indranil Banerjee has a very important point I want. Today in Kolkata, PSUs are grabbing properties of Hindus from Hindu landlords who rented out their land to these PSUs. The land laws of Bengal are totally anti Hindu and encourage land grabbing. Is it true?
I am not very sure. This is. Uh, I don't have any very solid information about this.
Okay. Okay. In that case, I think I'll take on if there are any questions, since you told me very clearly that you have another engagement at 9 o'clock and you would like to
Right.
finish by 9. So, thank you very much
Thank you very
for
much.
being with us for this hour. And also, we hope we'll soon have you on your book. And I'd like you to actually describe in detail episodes and events that you have documented with meticulous care. I'd like to do that with you. Thank you, Tathagata.
Thank you, Ji. Namaskar. It's
Yeah,
been a pleasure.
for me too. Always pleasure listening to you. Viewers, I will just have a look at what kind of comments have come. If there are any super chat koi hai, admin ji? Yeah. Madhuji, apologies for going off topic, but I would love to hear Dr. Swami's spineless, pathetic defense of his friend in Bengal on this matter. Devang, I'll try to bring Swami to talk about this issue. Ritesh says, can we have Islam, communism, free India? Can we have Islam, communism? Well, I hope to live in an India where I don't have to live in the shadow of Islam, communism, or even Christianity, because their open agenda is to wipe us out. So I think we've had enough of genocides. No more. That's really how I would put it. Any other questions? Otherwise, I will. If you'd like to leave, it's okay.
Thank you. I'll do that. I'll do that.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
very much.
Thank you, because you had told
Good
me.
night. Namaskar.
Namaskar. So, viewers, if there are any, there are so many comments here, but I wish people would just bring them on super chat, because it's very difficult for me to select from all this. It looks like I'm being favorite for this or that and picking and choosing from among those I have some connection with. So जिसको भी अपना comment विजिबल करना है और जवाब चाहिए तो कृपया सुपर चैट में डाला कीजिए, और सुपर चैट में चाहे आप 10 रुपए डालें, इट्स वन वे इन विच इट गेट्स सेल्फ सेलेक्टेड and reaches the screen. So, friends, not a very happy sign that हमारे प्रधानमंत्री दो माफिया डॉन फैमिलीज, दो गुंडा फैमिलीज, दो क्रिमिनल फैमिलीज, मुस्लिम फैमिलीज एक दूसरे से भिड़ के, एक दूसरे से राइवलरी की वजह से कत्ल करती हैं एक दूसरे के परिवारों में, और उससे प्रधानमंत्री बहुत विचलित हो जाते हैं और नेशनल टेलीविजन पे आके, प्राइम टाइम पे आके इस पे अपनी चिंता व्यक्त करते हैं और कहते हैं इनके किलर्स को माफ नहीं करना चाहिए, किसी किलर को भी माफ नहीं करना चाहिए। पर दही जम गई थी क्या प्रधानमंत्री जी आपके मुंह में, जब आप ही के पार्टी के लीडर वैंडलाइज हो रहे थे, ब्रूटलाइज हो रहे थे, उनके घरों की बहू बेटियां, बहनें, उनकी इज्जत लूटी जा रही थी, उनके घर जलाए जा रहे थे, तब क्या हो गया था आपको? आज तक आपने शोक व्यक्त नहीं किया उन लोगों के प्रति जिन्होंने आपकी एक कॉल पर अपनी जान हथेली पर रखकर ममता बनर्जी के खिलाफ जाकर, मालूम था उन्हें क्या अंजाम हो सकता है, आपकी पार्टी के समर्थन में निकले और आपकी इतनी बड़ी बड़ी शोभा यात्राएं निकाली, और आपने ऐसे लोगों की मौतों पर शोक व्यक्त भी नहीं किया, यहाँ तक कि कोई कमिटी भेजा जाए, कोई इन्वेस्टिगेशन हो, कोई इंक्वायरी कमेटी सेटअप हो, कुछ भी नहीं। मुझे मालूम नहीं कि वहाँ एफआईआर भी दर्ज हुई है कि नहीं, शायद नहीं हुई होंगी। You handed them over to the wolves. That really hurts. और जब आपकी कल स्टेटमेंट आई, तभी मैंने अखबार में दोबारा पढ़ा। मैंने सरसरी नज़र से पढ़ा था कि ये हिंसा चल रही है, तब तक मुझे नहीं मालूम था कि मरने वाले सारे मुसलमान हैं। मैंने फिर दोबारा अखबार खोली और देखा सारे आठों के आठों नाम मुस्लिम, और वो भी कोई शरीफ मुसलमान नहीं थे। शरीफ मुसलमान नहीं थे। जिसको पहले कत्ल किया वो भी कोई बहुत शरीफ नहीं था। उसके कत्ल के एवज जो लोगों के घर जलाए गए और 8 लोगों को जिंदा जला दिया, स्त्रियों और बच्चों समेत, वो भी कोई बहुत शरीफ लोग नहीं थे। ये एक्सटॉर्शनिस्ट माफिया था टीएमसी का। पर आपका दिल बहुत रो पड़ा, बहुत दुख हुआ इससे प्रधानमंत्री जी। और आपसे अनुरोध है, बहुत हो गया, प्लीज डोंट टेस्ट आवर पेशेंस सो मच। दिस इज नॉट राइट, दिस इज नॉट ऑनरेबल, दिस इज जस्ट नॉट गुड पॉलिटिक्स, इवन इन योर ओन सेल्फ इंटरेस्ट। दिस इज बैड पॉलिटिक्स। डोंट किक एट योर own support base. Don't kick at people जो अपनी जान न्योछावर आपके लिए करने को खड़े हो जाते हैं। कृपया उनका इस तरह अपमान मत कीजिए। उन्हें इतना जिल्लत भरा जीवन मत और डर भरा, दहशत भरा जीवन मत प्रदान कीजिए। और हमने देखा है योगी जी के चलते कैसे लोगों को सुरक्षा मिल रही है। एक वो चीज है जो जो सबसे पहली श्रेणी में रखी जा रही है आज, जो हिंदू उन्हें वोट कर रहे हैं, जो लाभार्थियों की कैटेगरी में नहीं है, वो केवल इसलिए क्योंकि सुरक्षा का माहौल है। तो प्लीज प्रधानमंत्री जी, आपसे प्रार्थना है, इट्स टाइम टू डू कोर्स करेक्शन। वी आर गेटिंग वेरी डिस्ट्रेस्ड बाय दिस exceedingly partisan attitude that you've been displaying. It's bad politics, और इसमें मानवता की भी कोई कदर नहीं है। इसमें मानवता के मूल्यों का भी निरादर है जो आप कर रहे हैं। और सबका साथ, हिंदुओं का विनाश नहीं होना चाहिए। इसी आशा के साथ आज का प्रोग्राम हम यहीं समाप्त करते हैं। Thank you, viewers, for joining us, and please do support Manushi, share, like, subscribe to this channel, and help it broaden its reach. That's my appeal to you. Namaste, Shubh Ratri, Vande Mataram.